When we're solving quadratic equations, this boils down to factoring. There's three steps. The first step is to factor. The second step is to set each of your parentheses equal to 0 and then solve each of those for x. And you should get two answers for your quadratic equations. So the first example is more basic. You've got x plus 3 times x minus 2 equals 0. This is already factored. It's already in factored form. So we can skip to our second step by setting each parentheses equal to 0. So that is x plus 3 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0. And by solving for x, we subtract 3 from both sides, give us x equal negative 3, and then add 2 to both sides for the second equation to give us x equal positive 2. And so those will be our two answers, x equals negative 3, x equal positive 2. Now, if your quadratic equation is not factored yet, you need to go ahead and factor this. And notice that your quadratic equation must be equal to 0 before you begin to factor. So factoring, a is equal to 1. There's no term, there's no coefficient in front of x squared, so that's assumed to be 1. So first term is x in each parentheses. And then you're looking for two numbers that multiply to equal 15 and add to equal 8. Your choices are 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. Obviously 3 and 5 adds to equal 8. So x plus 5 times x plus 3 equals 0. And just to make sure, you can go back and check your factoring before you continue to the next step. But I'm not going to show that in this example. You can do that on your own. But your next step, setting each parentheses equal to 0. So when x plus 5 equals 0, when we subtract 5 from both sides, we get x equal negative 5. And for x plus 3 equals 0, when we subtract 3 from both sides, we get x equal negative 3. For our third example, we see that the equation is not equal to 0. So before we do anything else, we want to get the right-hand side equal to 0. And we do that by adding 4x to both sides. And we want to keep our quadratic equation in the correct form, x squared, x, and constant. So this would be written as 3x squared plus 4x minus 4 equals 0. Factor. This time a is greater than 1. But 3 is prime, so our only option is 3x and x. And then we want to try a different combination of numbers until we get one that works out. For negative 4, our choices are negative 1 and 4, negative 2 and 2, or 1 and negative 4. I am going to try negative 2 and 2. And you can work, check this mentally or writing it down on paper. But if you check this, you will get the correct answer. So 3x minus 2 times x plus 2 is the correct factor method. So we set each one of these parentheses equal to 0. So we add 2 to both sides, and then divide both sides by 3. So x equals 2/3. And then subtracting 2 from both sides for the second equation gives our final answer, x equals 2/3 and x equals negative 2. And then in our final example, notice we have a difference of squares. The square root of 4x squared is 2x. The square root of 25 is 5. And we have different signs, a plus and a negative. So we set each parentheses equal to 0. And after we solve for x, we should have x equal negative 5/2 and x equals positive 5/2.